At the outset of the film, we are introduced to a young boy named Michele Silenzi, who is riding his bicycle to his school in Trieste, Italy. He possesses a €50 bill that he intends to use for purchasing a costume to wear at an upcoming party. While in class, he is seated behind his crush, Stella. The class is interrupted by a police officer named Giovanna, who is coincidentally Michele's mother. She has come to inquire about a student who has gone missing, urging the class to contact the police if they have any information about the missing student. Following her departure, Michele experiences a nosebleed and rushes to the restroom. At this point, his tormentors, who have been bothering him for a while, coerce him into giving them all his money. Disheartened by the incident, Michele returns home. He retrieves a small amount of change he had saved and decides to buy something with it. Subsequently, Michele visits a rundown store and asks for a superhero costume. The shopkeeper hands him a tight-fitting suit and a subpar cape, claiming it to be the attire of a Chinese superhero. Although Michele isn't particularly thrilled with the costume, he still makes the purchase. When Giovanna returns home from work, she finds Michele dressed in the costume but hesitant to attend the party due to feeling foolish. She offers reassurance, convincing him to go to the party. At the event, Michele has a good time, even conversing with his crush Stella. However, his bullies play a video purportedly showing Michele stalking Stella. Embarrassed, Michele retreats to the bathroom and locks himself in. His classmates outside plead for him to open the door, but Michele, frustrated, wishes he could become invisible, right before the lights go out. In the ensuing scene, Michele is seen escaping from the bathroom window and returning home. The following morning, he wakes up to his dog barking. Paying little attention, he heads to the bathroom to brush his teeth. Looking into the mirror, he is astounded to see only his robe and the brush, with his body invisible in the reflection. Panicked, Michele rushes out and removes his robe. Then his mom walks in and totally ignores him, proving that only he can see himself. She starts looking around, and he quickly writes on a piece of paper that he went to school early and puts it on the bed. His mom reads it and doesn't think anything of it. Later, she calls him on the phone, and he answers even though he's invisible. He's not sure what to do next, so he puts on long-sleeved clothes and goes to school to spy on Stella. He also sees his bully and decides to teach him a lesson. He takes off his clothes and walks around the school naked and invisible. He even uses the bully's paintball gun on the teacher and gets him suspended. Then, he sneaks into the girls' changing room and watches them undress. But, someone throws a towel on him, and he becomes visible again. The girls scream, and he runs away. The next day, he's in class listening to a lecture about teen mental health, and his hands start to glow. He disappears, but thankfully the class ends before anyone can see him. He goes home and sees his little sister, so he asks her to leave the room while he undresses. As he turns around, Candela lets out a terrified scream upon seeing her brother turned invisible. Michele reassures her, explaining that his costume has granted him superpowers. Meanwhile, at the police station, psychiatrist Basilai collaborates with Giovanna to investigate the disappearances of the children. While Giovanna suspects kidnappings, Basilai contends that it might be typical teenage rebellion. Upon returning home, Giovanna finds that Michele is still invisible. A call reveals Michele's adoption to Giovanna, leaving him surprised and hurt. He heads to a nearby swing, where he encounters Stella. She mistakes him for a ghost but remains unfazed, befriending him through sand drawings. They decide to meet again, and as Stella leaves, a blind man notices Michele. Nightfall sees Michele visiting Stella. After a brief invisible encounter, they share a kiss before his powers begin to wane. He flees, and later, Stella is struck with a needle, losing consciousness. Michele resolves to reveal his secret to Stella and arrives at her gymnastics class with his dog. Encountering a masked man abducting Stella, Michele attacks, but the man escapes with her. Police arrive, concluding that the missing children have been kidnapped. Stella awakens in a strange facility, connected to wires, and is interrogated by Basilai, the one behind the kidnappings. Stella's friends are also present in a cell. The next day, Michele meets the blind man again, named Andrage. Andrage seemingly reads Michele's thoughts and reveals himself as Michele's father. Andrage recounts his past, where a nuclear explosion triggered mutations in individuals, granting superhuman abilities. These specials were exploited as weapons by a military division, leading to their weakening with increased power usage. Another consequence was that everyone, except for Andrade and Michele's mother, became infertile. Consequently, producing new individuals with special abilities became an unachievable task. These two individuals gave birth to Michele, who was the pioneer among the special children. Nonetheless, once Michele was born, he was immediately taken away. In response, the parents opted to escape with Michele and their endeavor proved successful. However, the division's members were not willing to give up. They relentlessly pursued the couple with the intention of retrieving the child. With the ability to read minds, Michele's father evaded capture, but his wife was unfortunately killed by the division. Realizing that Michele wasn't safe by his side, Andrade left him in front of Giovanna's door after determining her goodness through mind reading. Now, news has reached the division that the special child resides in the town. As a result, they have begun kidnapping children and subjecting them to tests to identify their special abilities. Upon learning the truth about his origins, Michele is profoundly shocked. He's almost incredulous, yet Andrade warns that they don't have much time due to the suspicions of a nearby fisherman who has alerted the police. To aid Michele's escape, Andrade provides him with a suit that renders both his body and the suit invisible. He erases the fisherman's memory and departs. Shortly thereafter, the police arrive along with Basili. Giovanna discloses Michele's adoption, leading Basili to speculate that Michele might be the special child in question. Basili offers to take Michele home. However, during their journey, Michele notices Basili's injured hand, precisely where his dog had bitten Stella's abductor. This discovery triggers Michele's suspicion, prompting him to flee. Michele manages to turn invisible by shedding his clothes and successfully escapes with Basili in pursuit. Once outside, Michele encounters his tormentor Ivan on a bicycle. Seizing the opportunity, Michele hops onto the bike and urges Ivan to speed away, to which a nervous Ivan complies. In a safer location, Michele reveals his presence to Ivan and proceeds to divulge the details of their classmates' abductions. Meanwhile, Stella and her companions discover a ventilation opening on the ceiling. By stacking themselves atop each other, they enable Stella to exit through the vent. While eluding the guards, Stella ascends a tower and reaches a searchlight. Believing that her invisible friend might be searching for her, she creates a smiling face with the light, flashing it into the sky. Michele spots the luminous smile and comprehends Stella's signal. He and Ivan follow the light's path, yet upon arrival, the guards apprehend Stella. Utilizing his paintball gun, Ivan triggers an electrical malfunction while invisible Michele infiltrates the scene. He observes Basili and his group overseeing the activities of Giovanna and Andrade, who have united in their quest to locate Michele. Taking a step forward, he incapacitates one of the guards, then employs his firearm to intimidate the other guard into unlocking the cell where Stella and the rest are confined. Upon freeing them and confining the guards within, Michele unveils himself to his astonished friends. The boys contemplate escape, but Stella emphasizes the rescue of an elderly man she spotted imprisoned in another room. She and Michele venture to rescue the man, but unexpectedly, Stella deceives him and points a firearm at Michele. She suddenly collapses, allowing the elderly man behind her to speak. As it turns out, he possesses the ability to control minds. He has manipulated Basili and Stella to bring Michele to him. Subsequently, a submarine descends, taking Michele and Stella underwater, in the custody of the men. Coincidentally, Andrade and Giovanna arrive on the scene and encounter Ivan just as the building is about to detonate. Swiftly rescuing the abducted youngsters and Basili from within, they discover through Andrade's mental probing that Basili was being controlled. Escaping the building, it detonates moments later. Meanwhile, aboard the submarine, Michele discovers his telekinetic prowess, using it to overpower the men, liberate himself and Stella, and ultimately return to the shoreline, where a crowd awaits. In a display of his powers, Michele turns invisible before the crowd. Andrade informs him that erasing everyone's memories is necessary due to the division's pursuit. Michele complies, sharing a final kiss with Stella. Andrade assures Michele of his return before wiping everyone's memories and departing. Life resumes for everyone, and the narrative shifts to Russia, where Michele's mother, presumed deceased, is actually alive and leading the division. She orchestrated Michele's retrieval to her side and opposes those who stigmatize their abilities. A guard informs her of locating Michele's twin sister, Natasha, hinting at a sequel. The movie concludes with these revelations.